Hello, everybody. This is Jimmy. We're reading with Jimmy. We're reading Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, Chapter 6, Pig and Pepper. And oh, by the way, in our discussion of that whole baby thing, don't forget the title of the chapter, which Jimmy seemed to have forgotten, is very important as well, Pig and Pepper. So we left off with Alice asking the Cheshire Cat which way to go. Quote from here. One should think about direction as a concept. So when she asks that of the cat replies, well, that depends on where you want to get to, says the cat. I don't much care where, Alice says. Well, then it doesn't matter which way you go, says the cat. So everybody has goals. Sometimes on New Year's Eve, you make, oh, God, these are my New Year's resolutions, and then they fall apart or whatever. Objectives. Companies have objectives. It's always important in setting directions. And if Alice, being a young child, doesn't much care where she goes, the cat is absolutely correct saying, well, then it really doesn't matter which way you go. So you should think about this in terms of having direction in your life, where you want to get to. What are your, short-term goals, long-term goals? Do you have goals? And she replies to the cat, interestingly, as long as I get somewhere. And the cat replies, you're sure to do that if only you walk long enough. Well, isn't that the truth? If you start walking around the earth, eventually you'll get back. Einstein said that space and time are gently curved, that if you start in one place and you keep walking, you'll end up in the same place. Sometimes you do. Sometimes you end up in the same place. You think you're going towards a goal and you end up in the same place. I have come to believe in reading with you Alice's Adventures in Wonderland that Lewis Carroll preceded Einstein. It's amazing what this guy did. But anyway, let's continue. Alice thought that this could not be denied. Of course it couldn't be denied. So she tried another question. What sort of people live about here? Now, remember, something's happened here. She said, what kind of people live here? She's been dealing with creatures a lot. The only person that I've seen or remember, maybe you remember more, is the Duchess. But in any case, the cat answers, in that direction, waves his right paw, lives the Hatter. In that direction, waving the other paw, lives the March Hare. Right for Hatter, left for March Hare. Visit either you like, they're both mad. The concept of madness, of being mad, is an interesting concept. And we're going to talk about that in the next chapter for sure. But that's what the world to Alice seems a little bit now too. I mean, you have to be in a world of madness in this chapter of Pig and Pepper with things being thrown at the Duchess. But I don't want to go among mad people, Alice says. By the way, this is a very important chapter. I don't want to be around mad people. And the cat says, you can't help it. We're all mad. I'm mad, you're mad, we're all mad. So what is mad? I defined it for you here based on, looking it up. And again, encouraging, whenever you don't know a word, look it up. Don't necessarily believe Google, get a lot of different definitions, but try to understand it. A lot of times we'll be able to tell in some of the stories we'll be reading, you can figure out what a word means from context. Mad is mentally disturbed, deranged, insane, demented, or angry. So it's one of those English words again. Well, I'm mad. Well, are you angry or are you demented? You're mad. Well, are you deranged? Are you saying you're deranged? Or are you saying the person is angry? So mad is an interesting word. And the cat says, sometimes I'm sure you've thought this, that the world's crazy, right? How do I know I'm mad? There's a great question, isn't it? From the mouths of children comes wisdom, right? How do I know I'm mad? And the cat says, well, you must be, or you wouldn't have come here. So you must be, or you wouldn't have come here. Of course. Alice didn't think that proved it, but she goes on and she says, how do you know that you're mad? So she flips it, right? Well, I don't know if I believe that, but how do you know you're mad? And so now the cat begins his logic. Well, a dog's not mad. Would you grant that? Do you agree with that? Well, yeah. Well, then a dog growls when it's angry and it wags its tail when it's pleased. Now, remember, he's proving, since the dog is mad, one of the actions of the dog. The dog growls when it's angry and wags its tail when it's pleased. And I growl when I'm pleased and I wag my tail when I'm angry. Therefore, I'm mad. So the cat's definition of madness is he does the opposite of what a dog does, because the dog is not mad. Now, I'm not saying you should believe this. I'm not saying, but you should definitely think about it. Remember what I told you already. Albert Camus said, it's not the soundness of the argument, but for it to make you think. So the cat's basic argument is if you're doing something different than everybody else is doing, you're mad. Now, I don't know if that's true, but it's certainly been true in history. But we'll talk about that some other time. But Alice corrects the word. She says it's purring, not growling. Because don't forget, Alice has got a cat, Diana, right? Diana the cat. And she likes cats. And the cat, she says, purrs. It doesn't growl. Call it what you like, said the cat. Do you play croquet with the queen today? Then he completely changes the topic. Changing topics, remember we talked about that, is very important. When you run up against the wall, change the topic. Start talking about something else. She said, next page, I like it very much, but I've not been invited. The cat says, well, you'll see me there. Vanished. He disappears. Very important to note that she was not surprised at this, as she was getting used to a lot of queer things happening here. There's the word again, queer. Everything is queer here. Weird. Everything is weird. While she was still looking at the place where it had been, it reappeared, appeared again. It says, by the by, what became of the baby? Note the word that the cat uses for the pig. Baby. I nearly forgot to ask. It turned into a pig, Alice said quietly, just as if the cat had come back in a natural way. In other words, well, this is natural. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, we were just talking about madness, a weird word, madness. And now you got a cat disappearing and appearing and disappearing. Very strange. And then the cat, when she says it turned into a pig, says, I thought it would. And he vanished again. What an encounter to talk about madness, isn't it? Talk about madness. Did you ever see a disappearing cat? I never did, although they run pretty good. Alice waited a little, half expecting to see it again, but it didn't appear. And after another minute or two, remember time, concept of time. Should type that time. Time is always going to be very important here. Did I type that? Let me see here. Time. T-I-M-E. There we go. So after a minute or two, she walks in the direction of the March hare. Now, she's going to go see the March hare, which is the left paw. She's going left. I've seen hatters before. So she's seen hatters. So hatters, is that right? Did I say that right? In that direction, the right paw is the hatter, right? She's going left, the March hare. What's a hatter? A hatter is a guy who makes hats, a person who makes hats. We'll define that a little later. But in any case, she's going to see the March hare. And she says this to herself. See this? The March hare will be much more interesting. This is her opinion. Remember, she saw the baby and that was really a pig. But she says the March hare will be more interesting. And perhaps as this is May, now suddenly we know what month it is. I don't think we've seen that before. I'm going to have to go back and check my notes. But I don't think we've seen May. Let me circle that. That's important. We now know we're in the month of May, which is very interesting, would you say? May. And so because it's May, the March hare will not be raving mad, at least not so mad as it was in March. Raving mad. What's that concept of a March hare? I defined it to you. The idea of a mad March hare comes from the hare, the rabbit's behavior you're most likely to witness in the month of March. Now remember, she's already met the white rabbit, right? So maybe she thinks the March hare is the white rabbit. I don't know. She doesn't say that, so we can't assume that. She's just going to the March hare because it'd be more interesting. Well, so far, pursuing rabbits has been very interesting. The sort of mad behavior you see includes madcap chases, furious boxing matches. They do box, these rabbits, March hares, H-A-R-E. This is not H-A-I-R. This is not mad behavior, says Google, but instead it's courting behavior. That's courting, and they get frisky. You're reading with Jimmy. This is Chapter 6, Pig and Pepper, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. My email is Jimmy@readingwithjimmy.com, Jimmy@readingwithjimmy.com. Thanks for coming. Look forward to seeing you for the final pages of Chapter 6.